So day two starts up Akihabara. This is one of those things where, if you've been a video game anime nerd for a long time, you know Akihabara. So that was like, I have to go here at one point in my life. That is the nerd mecca. I must go. So I was very excited to go. So I wake up at around, I guess, 7 o'clock, and I have some time to kill. Stores don't open in Japan until around 10 o'clock, so I wait around for about an hour, and I figure, screw it, let me just go ahead and go. I guess I can get something to eat or whatever before I go to my planned places. So, I get up, take the train. The trains are pretty packed in the early morning, but at this time, it wasn't as packed as it has been on some of the other trains I'd taken later in the trip. See a lot of school kids. That was kind of weird, kind of surreal, because if you watch anime, a lot of them take place during high school and like elementary school and whatnot. So you see all these school uniforms, sailor uniforms, dress uniforms and all that kind of stuff. And people actually wear those there. Kids are like wearing that stuff, all the different types you see in anime, people are still wearing today in Japan. That was kind of surreal. I wanted to take pictures of it, but if I go around snapping pictures of little children, that probably won't go over well with law enforcement. So didn't get any photos of that. But yeah, I got to Akihabara. I don't know what I was expecting. I thought maybe when I walked off the train, like neon lights everywhere, giant signs, and anime cosplay craziness or anything like that. But it was pretty tame. You get off the subway station, and at the exit I was at, there were these pillars that had like little screens on them, and the screens had little promos for different shows playing, like stuff like that. And you go out to the street corner, then poof, you're there. All the big tall buildings. All of the stores in Japan, at least most of the stores in Japan, are pretty small. They have this real weird thing where there's like levels stacked on top of each other. So if you go to Club Sega, for example, there'll be 5 stories of Club Sega, but it's not like huge. It's kind of small little segments. I don't really know how to describe it. It's like the aisles in America, the aisles are, I don't know, maybe 4, I don't know. Let's say maybe 6 feet wide. I've never actually measured, but there's plenty of space for 2 people to walk down and maybe like little kids to run around. In Japan, there's enough space for 1 person in a lot of the aisles. So you go to these shops and there's like really packed together, tight shelves. It's just weird. It works, but it's just kind of weird. So yeah, anyway, when I get there, it's 8 o'clock or so, everything's closed. So it's kind of just walk up down the streets, looking at places, snapping pictures, like, oh my God, I'm actually here. My first place for the day was the Eorza Cafe. Now, I've played Final Fantasy XIV for a while, on and off. I'm not really playing currently, but I probably will be soon. So I had to hit up the Eorza Cafe. So I get there at around, it's 10 o'clock. I think it opens at 10:30, but I read online you need to get there by around 10 to get your tickets because sometimes it sells out. So I get there and I'm kind of like, I go into the building and there's like the stairwell you have to go to get to the actual cafe. So I go up there and when I get there, there's nobody there. So I'm kind of confused. It's like completely empty. There's a sign there, but it's in Japanese. So I can't read enough Japanese to know what it means. So I just kind of like, is this the right spot? So I stand there in the stairwell for a while, and then some girls come in, and they stand on like the stairwell, the next level up. So I figure, I guess they're waiting for it too. And then more girls just start coming in, and they start lining up all the way up the stairwell and start to curve. And I'm kind of like, wait, am I not in line? So I leave where I'm standing, and I go up and stand next to where all the girls are. And after a few minutes, some lady comes out holding a box, and I guess she's handing out raffle tickets to see who gets to go in and who doesn't. And she gets to me, and she has that look on her face like, you're not here for this cafe, are you? And I'm like, Eorzea? And she's like, oh, Eorzea, yeah, come. And she takes me downstairs, through the door. I get my ticket for the earliest opening time. I think it was like 11:30. And then I go downstairs and wait. I guess what it was is there were different cafes on that floor. And the one they were going for was some kind of butler cafe where women dress up like dudes, I think. I think it's like otome or some weird thing like that. So yeah, I was in the wrong line. So I go downstairs, and there's this other guy who was there with his girlfriend or sister or something. He was also confused, and I had to explain to him, you just go up there, pass through the door, get your ticket. He's like, yeah, thanks, man. Went up there. So, I just sat around for about an hour. Then it finally opened, and I went in, and it was kind of lame. I'm not going to lie, kind of lame. I've never been to a themed cafe, so I didn't really know what to expect. But it's pretty much, just a restaurant with overpriced food and decorations. And that's kind of it. I mean, if I was there with a bunch of Final Fantasy 14 fans, like friends of mine, and we were like, "Oh man, look, there's that replica of this and that replica of that," you might have been pretty cool. But just as a person, just going there, it's kind of like, okay, this food, they had like a food menu, and all the food is themed after different Final Fantasy objects or monsters and whatnot. Didn't taste very good. And the drinks are themed after different, Final Fantasy things and whatnot. And then there's just like little decorations. Like I sat at the bar, and behind me there were some computers, I think 3 computers that were all running Final Fantasy 14 on like super ultra high settings. It looked pretty impressive just glancing over at it. Then on the walls there would be decoration like weaponry or everything was themed to look like, I forget, maybe Lomenza, a city in the game. So yeah, pretty much, just little decorations. And they have like a lady there, she's like, I guess the DJ, and she'll come out and perform little skits and change the music and perform a new skit. But again, I don't speak Japanese, so that didn't really help. Although what little Japanese I did know did come in handy, because she walked up to me and she was like, Nihongo ga wakuru. I don't even remember. I've already forgotten. But she asked me if I spoke Japanese and Japanese, and I knew what she was saying. I was like, nope. And it's like, oh, okay. So anyway, even if you don't speak Japanese, placing your order there is very easy. All you do is they give you a little sheet. You mark down what you want. They give you an English menu, by the way. You mark down what you want and hand it off to the bartender, and then they'll give you your food. So yeah, check that out. After that site, I was kind of like, I guess I don't really need to go to more themed cafes. I think I kind of get what they're about. So I leave there, and my next stop is the arcades. Now it's like 11 or so, 12. They're probably like 12 or something. So all the stores are open. So I go down to look for the arcades, and there are a few arcades that I knew about going in there. I know there was a Taito arcade, Club Sega, Hey Entertainment, and maybe 1 or 2 others. So I think Club Sega was the first place I hit up. There's actually separate Club Segas. Like I mentioned, there's like a bunch of small stores stacked on top of each other. So like at one point of the street, there'll be one type of Club Sega with some types of games, and you go to another Club Sega that have different types of games. They're kind of scattered about. You just kind of just wander into them sometimes by accident. So the first Club Sega I go to, I'm trying to remember the stores. I think on the bottom floor there was a Melon Book store to buy stuff, and then like on the second floor I think it might have been just generic games, and then I think it was Crane games, then I think fighting games like Tekken. No, it was like, I think it was like 2D fighters, then like Tekken on the floor above that, and then like the top floor I believe was like all Virtua Fighter, which is kind of weird because that game is old and not very popular, but there were people there playing. So when I go into the arcade, it's actually kind of empty. At least the 2D fighter floor is practically empty. So I took some video of that, which I may be showing you right now. I'm not really sure. So I walked around. Oh, this is kind of cool. There are a bunch of games that I'd never heard of, like Fighting Climax, which I guess isn't really all that new, but I'd never heard of that. And a few other games. I think the main game people were playing were a lot of card games, collectible card games, and like Gundam games, stuff like that. The stuff that I was familiar with, people weren't really playing. But my first objective from this cardcade was known before I even took the trip, and that was Tekken 7. Like, I was a huge Tekken fan growing up. My screen name is Chris Mishima, and Mishima is a character from Tekken, so that's where that comes from. And so I was really like, I have to play Tekken 7. So I get there. At first, I'm looking for a band passport, which is like a little card. A little card that keeps your character data, so you can use this at different arcades and level up your characters and equip stuff. But I couldn't find it. I saw all the arcade machines, but I didn't see the band passport. So I had to walk around looking. I'd see like advertisements for it, and I'm like where the hell, where is this thing? This little instructional booklet here, and I go down and talk to some guy. He doesn't speak any English, so I'm kind of like, where's the Bandai passport? And he kind of gets what I'm saying, but he doesn't. Eventually, he ends up letting me know that they don't have it there anymore. So I'm like, that's wonderful. But anyway, I just went ahead and started to play. Played a little bit of Tekken 7, and I was somewhat disappointed. I mean, it's not a bad game, but it's more of the same. And my favorite characters are like Nina, Kunimitsu, and Julia Chang, and none of those characters are actually in the game yet, so it's kind of like, okay, I guess I'd play King or something. But yeah, so I played a few matches of that. I ended up getting my passport, I think either the very next day or at a different arcade. I think it may have been Hey Arcade. They actually had the machine. You put $5 in, then it spits out the card. Poof, I can play some Tekken. So yeah, I think King was what I used the most. I played a little Kazuya and then some King. The arcades are pretty much just machines right next to each other, then machines on the other side right next to each other, and you just play. You can play locally against people in the arcade, or you can play over the internet against people across Japan. And the internet play was actually kind of laggy. You get little lag spikes here and there, and sometimes it take a while to connect. It's a little janky. I don't know. I don't know how all that works, but I was a little surprised at how unpolished Tekken 7 was. It really needs some work to do, but I guess it's probably normal, because the way these games are is the games come out in Japan, people play them for a year, and then the console version comes out with more stuff. So I'm looking forward to seeing the final version of the game, but playing it at the arcades, it's kind of like, eh. Okay, I'm trying to check in my notes here. I think, so after I finished the arcades, I went for a little bit of shopping. I told myself I was not going to buy a bunch of junk because I don't have that much space. I'm overcrowded on space right now. I need to get rid of a bunch of my books and whatnot. So I did do some shopping. I went to Soft Map, Tora no Anna, Mulan, and a few other stuff, anime and stuff like that. One thing I thought was kind of neat is that when you go to Japan, when you buy stuff, they tape the top of the bag. They just put a little piece of tape over the top. I mean, I guess that's kind of like an anti-theft thing, but it was, I don't know, it's just weird. It's kind of weird to me, like everybody, every time you buy something, they give you a little bag. It's a tiny little tape on it, tiny little tape. It's like, I don't know, it was cute to me, I guess. Maybe that's normal other places, but that's not standard in America. They just give you the bag and go. But when you go to Japan, you go to the cashiers, they're all like, blah, 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 blah. Tape your bag, here you go. So yeah, so I did that, shopped a little bit. Then I went back, played a little more in the arcades. My plan was to eat fast food in Japan and try the different, see what Japanese McDonald's is like, see what Japanese Burger King is like and stuff like that. But I actually didn't really eat fast food. I pretty much ate entirely at convenience stores. I did eat at McDonald's for breakfast. I had a hot dog for breakfast. Okay, so yeah, there was that. But yeah, pretty much I lived on convenience store food and the little, I guess, ticket ramen machines. They have restaurants in Japan where instead of going in and ordering your food, they just have a vending machine in front of the place. So you just put your money in, pick what you want. It'll spit you out a little ticket. You walk in, hand the person the ticket, and 2-3 minutes later, they hand you your food and you're eating, which is pretty convenient. So you don't need to know any Japanese to do that. And the dishes are pretty tasty. So that was pretty much my day. Did a little shopping. Then I went home. I ate at the train station, ramen shop in the train station, and went home and called it a day. My next goal was to go to Akihabara, which I believe is an artificial city, built, man-made, built on the whatever, however they do that. Maybe throw trash from the water and build it up, or whatever. So it's kind of like a tech futuristic city, I guess is the idea. I mean, it looks pretty normal, but it has some really fancy buildings. There's one building that had like a big giant ball that was suspended. I was kind of like, how do, like a if World War III happens or something like that, thing's gonna crash down and destroy everyone. But yeah, there was that. So I went there. I went to the Gundam Museum, or I tried to go to the Gundam Museum, but I didn't really know where it was. There's like I think Diver City, where they have a giant Gundam statue. So I went there, took some pictures of the statue, walked around. I was actually kind of impressed. It was big. I'd seen the pictures of it, and people were saying it's not as big as you would think it is, but it's as big as you would think it is. At least it was to me. So I walked all around it, looked all the detail, looked, spotless, perfect, and all that kind of stuff. So I wasn't sure how to get into the museum, though. So I figured maybe the museum was in the mall. So I sat around waiting for the mall to open. Then I went to the mall, walked around. It had like a lot of high-priced stores that have like regular stuff you could buy anywhere. But I guess it's a touristy attraction. So I go look around, don't see them all, come back outside, and there's like this little mini Gundam station where you can buy model kits and whatnot, some souvenirs. Nothing all that impressive. So at first I thought that was the Gundam Museum, but I learned later that there was like some steps where people were preparing for some kind of rehearsal, some kind of singing, songing, dance number. I think behind that was the entrance to the actual museum, but I didn't realize that at the time. So I figured, whatever, that's kind of lame, and I just left. So then I went to Sega Joyopolis. It's like an indoor amusement park. Did a few rides. They had this anime, I think Psychopass, Psychopass based amusement thing where this lady gives you this little light gun and you go into the team, shooting the little light gun creatures and whatnot. Kind of neat. I was kind of surprised because Psychopass was being advertised pretty heavily over there, and I didn't really think it was a big deal anime, but I guess it's really, really being pushed. So I guess Joyopolis was okay. Again, it's one of those things where if you're going with friends or you have little kids, it's probably a great time. But for me, it was just kind of like, well, I'll try this initial D ride and I'll try this thing here. And it's kind of like, okay, well, that's that, and left. My goal after that was to go to a Shibuya and take some pictures of the Shibuya crossing, but I got lost on my trains and I ended up just back in Akihabara again. So I was kind of like, whatever, fate, I suppose. So I went looking for Super Potato, but I never found it. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I just couldn't find the thing. I tried like 3 separate times to find Super Potato. It was like a video game store, but I just could not find the thing. I walked down this street, that street. I had my pocket Wi-Fi and my Google Maps on and say, oh, go here. And I'd walk like 30 minutes one way, and then there's no Super Potatoes. I'm like, well, this isn't right. And it's, 15 minutes this other way, and I get there, there's no Super Potato, and it's kind of like, and I was like, I don't know. I must have walked past it a million times, but I just did not see it. So I decided to go ahead and go to Nanako Broadway. Google Maps fails me once again because it tells me to get off at a certain train station. So I get up there and I start heading north, I believe. And I end up walking like an hour and a half, something like that, down side streets and curving around until I finally get there. And I find out later, when I'm leaving, that there was a train station that lets out right at Nanako Broadway. So I could have just been right there. So I don't know what happened there. Be careful about that kind of thing. If you're using Google, make sure you double check and use other apps that are more efficient or more up to date on your different train routes and whatnot. But I get there, and it's closing at around this time. So I go to look. I'm looking for Monderake, which is a pretty popular chain. There are actually like a bunch of little stores scattered across the mall. So I find this one store. It's kind of like one of the coolest stores I found when I was in Japan. It has like a bunch of old figures from like the 70s, maybe early 80s. The problem was everything there was super expensive. Like I think some of the cheaper things were around $100, and I saw some stuff in there that was like 1,000. So it was one of those things where I see the store, and there's like a big robot. I forget the name of it. Maybe Mazinger, or some anime fan is probably about to slice me. I got that wrong, but a Grandizer or something. I see this robot up there. I snap a picture of it, and then there's like I think the Fushi Inari Shrine, like a miniature Fushi Inari Shrine. There's little orange pillars like in front. So I walk through that. And I'm looking at all the figures, and I see the price tags on them. I just kind of quickly like, nope, turn around and walk out. But yeah, it was pretty cool. If you're an old school anime fan, you'll probably want to check that out. But I saw like each Monderake store is themed. So when I bought some stuff at, I had a bunch of like 70s, 80s robot shows like Gundam Wing and whatnot. Yeah, like model kits and figures and stuff like that. And another store may have like buttons, and another store may have Godzilla figures and stuff like that. So each store is themed. Some of the stores are closed, so I couldn't go in them. But yeah, I checked out a few of them. Bought a few things. I bought some gifts for my brother. I bought I think what do you call it? It's called Star Avengers in America, but I think it was called Get a Robo. I bought a Get a Robo figure for him. And I bought a Gundam Wing, I think Death Scythe model kit. He keeps going on about how he's going to do Gunpla. He's going to do Gunpla. He never will, but I got him a Gunpla, so now he has no excuse. He has a Gunpla. He can put that together. So I got him that. Look around a little bit. Since it was closing, I figured maybe I'll come back again later, maybe not. I ended up never going back there, so I kind of called it a night.